it. So.
All right, we're gonna get started. I'd like to call this regular meeting of May 28th, 2024 to order. We'll have the roll call and then please join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hathaway,
Present.
Palmer. Absent, Flintoff, present, Brazeau,
Present.
Harry.
Present.
Noel. Present. Riser.
Present.
We have quorum.
All right, please join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item is adoption of the agenda. And I know there was one change, and that was to move item G6 from the consent agenda to new business. So that would move it to the end of new business after K8. Are there any other changes proposed to the agenda?
I'd like to suggest that we discuss that one, maybe not take action, but make it discussion only, G6. Is that okay, Joyce?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, so move it and make it discussion only.
K9,
G,
G6 is
G6.
after K8.
Yes.
yes, it keeps its original number.
Thank you.
We had also discussed removing the K5 from the agenda.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure where that stood. All right, so remove K5 entirely.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll deal with that another time. Other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, is someone prepared to move the agenda?
I was
Moved by Noel, support by Riser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, let's proceed. We have communications to the Board of Trustees. Is there any comment? Hearing none, let's move on to public comment. This is a time for members of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes on any matter under the purview of the Board of Trustees. Trustee Brazeau will serve as our timekeeper. If you are in the hall present and would like to speak during public comment, please come up to the table. Yeah. No.
Okay.
First come, first serve.
Okay, I got a birthday event to get to, so, okay. My name is Denise Frost and I'm with the Sarah Casual Angel DAR chapter that's based out of Ann Arbor. And first of all, I just want to take a moment, thank you guys for your time and your dedication to all the work that you guys do. When I was here earlier this year, I addressed some concerns that we had and also some solutions to take care of Popkins Cemetery, which was technically abandoned and had not been taken care of for many decades. So taking care of cemeteries is about honoring our past, preserving our heritage, and creating meaningful spaces for reflection for our community. I want to thank you for listening to our concerns because it did not go unnoticed. Luke Larson with MLive did a really great article about the project. And then he emailed me Monday morning afterwards and he says, we probably won't publish anything, but anything exciting happened? And I said, well, yeah, he kind of did. So I did another article because it's pretty low key. I mean, the cemetery is not that exciting. So we were very pleased and thank you guys for your support on that. So what did we get done? We got the path cleaned up. We extended the path into a loop. So when you walk in, you can kind of walk by the headstones and, acknowledge them. The Boy Scouts put down mulch around the entire path. We got a physical address for the cemetery. It's 4230 Pratt Road. We have a Facebook page established. It's called Friends of Popkins Cemetery. So please go visit it and like it, and you'll see mostly the work of an SAR member who's putting these headstones, for those of you who don't know, that had been broken many decades ago. And he's it's a puzzle. He's got boards out there, literally, it's like a puzzle. He's trying to put them together. We met, we're in contact with a descendant of the American Revolutionary veteran that is buried there. And we also met a descendant of Margaret Alexander Popkins, who James and Margaret were the owners of the property, and they had set aside some land for burials. We know of 52, maybe 53 volunteers who came to help that afternoon. We were just thrilled and we got a lot done. And I am going to, when I get done, I'm going to pass something out so you can see the before and after of the path and the before and after of a headstone that was repaired. So I'll drop those in a minute. We had a man come that fixes headstones, so he was kind of teaching us how to do it. And there was a headstone that had 4 pieces, and it's this one right here. And when he got done, he had it all put together. It's a very tall headstone. He did a beautiful job on it. He kind of taught us how to do it, some of us. It's not something that I will be undertaking personally, but okay, I ran out of time, right? Oh. Okay, can I pass these out?
Yeah, absolutely. You can finish up.
Yeah, I tried to talk fast.
No. Okay, 3 minutes is
Just to give
brutal.
you a before and after path, and I'll start this one over here. This is a before and after of the headstone, what it looked like when we found it and what it looks like today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for all of your work.
Oh, you're welcome.
Happy birthday, Denise.
It's not mine, it's my son's.
Oh, your son's birthday.
Already.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
What do we got? So I'm gonna put them over on the table.
Oh, there's extras.
It was incredible how they,
Oh, I think Jillian misunderstood. This is different. Yeah. Well, yes, I'm just middle of passing paper here. All right, who's next for public comment?
Good evening, board. I'm still Kathleen Brandt. I sent a letter to John Reiser, and I copied the township board, and I did not get an answer, so I thought I would just mention this. The subject line was, what additional water and sewer rate information are you seeking? Mr. Reiser, at last night's Board of Trustees meeting, you stated you needed additional information regarding water and sewer rates. It was not at all clear to me what information you were seeking. The presentation from Plant Moran and the answers provided by both Brandon McNeil and Plant Moran were quite explicit to me. In fact, all of my written questions were fully answered during the meeting. Could you please commit to writing exactly what information you are seeking? This vague request for information is impossible to respond to. I'm concerned that vague requests like these do not serve the residents well and only delays the process to put in place financial stability in the township. We can all do better in moving Scio forward to better governance. Please consider this in your official duties as a trustee with fiduciary responsibility. So if I could get an answer, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you, Kathleen.
Who's next for public comment?
Good evening, Pat Stein, longtime resident. Tonight I want to speak on K5, but now it's been removed from the agenda. Can I ask why it's been removed?
Well, I don't know. Joyce, do you want to speak why the bar roof replacement, why you
Sure.
recommended it to be removed?
Yes, primarily because we still need additional information, Mrs. Stein. I mentioned during our last meeting that the contractor withdrew, and we did request other bids. However, The lowest bid as it stands right now is 39,000 in comparison to the 24,000 we had beforehand. And so, our utilities director and I wanted to review it in more detail.
Okay.
And then the other reason, there was a question about establishing fair market rent. And in inquiring with certain realtors, they didn't know if there was any comparables that we could identify in order to make that determination for a roof, rather for a barn. And so we need to maybe do some further follow-up on that item, but I hope to have it on the agenda again for our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. I would still like to go ahead and address my concerns. Could we reset the timer? Please?
She would like to reset it.
Oh,
She's just
Sure.
starting.
I only have a
Sure.
minute, 33 seconds to speak, if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay, item K5 on the barn replacement. Thank you to Brandon McNeil for soliciting the 3 quotes that were on the board packet. In reviewing the specifics of the top 2 quotes, I did see that Sheriff Goslin and Go-To Roofing bids were very close until you consider the additional work of replacing the damaged fascia. That portion of their bids is worlds apart. Sheriff Goslin is quoting $500, whereas Go-To Roofing quoted $6,380 just for the fascia. As a taxpayer, I called Go-To Roofing to inquire as to the high cost for the fascia. Steve, the gentleman that supplied the quote, took into consideration the very good condition of the barn and was thinking, since all the fascia was going to suffer some damage with the removal of the roof, he quoted a white composite material that never needs painting and never rots. He quoted this for all sides of the barn. I would also like to point out that his quote included installing new 6-inch seamless aluminum gutters. Again, because the original gutters were also going to suffer damage during the roof replacement. They have to take them off and put them back on again. Let's see, he also pointed out the existing gutters are too small for such a large barn. Scott Guthrie, one of the 2 owners of Go-To Roofing, said if you prefer, he can skip the new gutters and you can skip the new gutters and the new fascia and just replace the small damaged area with a $15 piece of wood that he won't mark up too much. Of course, eliminating these 2 items would bring the quote even less than Sheriff Goslin. But please don't eliminate Go-To Roofing quote. I'd like to have it revisited, and I strongly recommend Scio Township make every effort to spend our tax dollars at a Scio Township business that also pays Scio taxes. Go-To Roofing has been in business in Scio Township for 7 years now. They have a very good reputation and excellent reviews. Of the 17 reviews I found, 16 were 5-star and 1 was a 4-star. I think I got it all. Sorry. I'm trying to read it to you as if it was still on the agenda. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.
Is there anyone else present in the hall who would like to speak during public comment?
Bill David Reed, and I'm still a candidate for trustee. A couple of thanks to the clerk here. Thank you for making the Zoom address in the agenda active. Now we can click on it instead of having to copy and paste. And also thank you for not deleting the agenda and packet at the beginning of the meeting. So it's still there. So thank you very much.
Never a purposeful deletion, but thank you for noticing.
A couple comments. I just have comments on the agenda. I was going to comment on the barn, but we'll set that aside. G6, the proposal, the wage classification study. I'm assuming that's going to include, and you don't have to answer this, but I'm assuming that will include the fire department as well. The downtown development agreement for the road, for Jackson Road, that's 9/10 of a mile for $1.5 million. That comes out to 1.7 million a mile. Now, when last I knew about concrete, which admittedly is a long time ago, it was $1 million a mile. So now this is going up by 70% in the last 8 years, which probably maybe is expected. But for $1.5 million, I think we deserve details. I think we deserve what it's gonna cost to remove the concrete, to recycle the concrete, to put down a new base, to replace the gutters or the concrete gutters and such. I think just giving us, it's gonna cost $1.5 million is not sufficient. Now, I know the road commission answers to no one but themselves, but at least you can ask. And maybe you did and they ignored you, but I think we should get details. Judging from the lack of written reports in the agenda, I guess nothing happened in the last 2 weeks. So I guess that section of the agenda will be real fast. The development reviews, those rates are doubling and there's no backup on that. But I found out when we got down to the Carlisle Wortman group, their rates are doubling. So that's why our rates have to double. We'll get to that in a minute. The Jackson Road pump station, $61 per foot for the fence. Did we get bids on that? And that might be standard. That might be a good price, but did we get bids? They're not in the packet. So if we got bids, that's great. And Carlisle Wortman, did we get any bids on planning? Because I see the contracts in here and we didn't get bids and the rates are doubling. Well, maybe that's appropriate and maybe all planners are doubling, but we didn't get any, we don't have bids in the packet. The zoning administrator, item number K3, that has got to be one of the most confusing resolutions I've read. Basically, we're nominating no one. So there's no one person in charge of zoning administration, not a manager, not a director, not a group head, no one person. That's kind of confusing. K4, Colarossi Landscaping. Prior board members, me included, have planted native plants in the area, in the gardens. I don't know if they're still there. They could have died already, but I'm wondering if Colarossi knows the difference between native and again, where are the bids? We got bids for the barn. We just didn't read them carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. It's not projecting on these screens. Everybody at home is seeing okay. So I'm trying to troubleshoot with Chris, which is why I'm on my phone, but it's not mission critical.
So viewers at home are able to see, but we aren't seeing what they're seeing.
Correct.
Okay,
What are they being able to see? Us or?
yeah,
Yeah, both.
as
Okay.
if the cameras were working.
The cameras are working. These screens are not projecting what the cameras are pulling in.
Well, that's reassuring. Are there any other folks here tonight who would like to speak during public comment? If not, let's turn to those who are participating remotely.
If you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. First up is Rob Pattinson, followed by Jonathan. Rob?
Thank you. Rob Pattinson, Scio Township. First thing is, what is the update on Sheriff Gate? This is for Manager Parker. We know from the special meeting on April 9th that the summary of that is basically that the supervisor made an innocent bonehead mistake. It interfered with the roads committee being able to run their meeting. But then the result of that was weaponized by the supervisor. It's now 7 months. It's 2 months after the special meeting about it. So this bonehead mistake has been weaponized into a political weapon, and we need a report on the investigation of what happened in the rest of this incident. We recently learned that engine 1 in the fire department was down for repairs, and then engine 2 was down for repairs, and we were down to the tanker truck as our primary response vehicle. That's 23 years old. I would like to see a report on equipment downtime from the fire department due to repairs and such, and a priority list. We've talked a lot about a ladder truck. I would like to see something referring to a priority list if there are other higher priorities that need replacement before we get to a ladder truck. I too would like an explanation as to why Director McNeil chose the roofing contractor in K5. I didn't go into anywhere near as much detail as Pat Stein did, but I would just like to understand his rationale for why he chose that particular contractor. Is there a working session scheduled for water and sewer? That is desperately needed. You all need to get together and talk about that in much more detail. The wage and classification study results. When will we expect results from that item on tonight's agenda? And then the Carlisle Wortman contract. Earlier this year, we budgeted $639,000 for them as our contractor. Was that put out for bid? Clearly, I don't think it was, but we'd like an explanation as to why it wasn't. And who in particular right now is the zoning administrator? And then we had the bounce checks. How many were bounced and how much did that add up to? And that is everything. Thank you.
Rob, what bounce checks are you referring to? Are you referring to something in the packet?
No, this was 2 or 3 months ago. There was
Yes,
the treasurer and the deputy treasurer were out of the office, and there was the two-part authentication that needed to happen for the checks, and because they were
Yes.
out of the office, they bounced. So we'd like to know how many bounced and what that total is, please. And has it been fixed?
yes, it's been fixed, but I'll get you that other info.
Okay, thank you.
Is Jonathan up next?
Yep, next up is Jonathan.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight? Hope you're all doing well. Enjoyed a nice long weekend. Couple of comments I wanted to make. First of all, it would be very nice to know what the outcome of the investigation is into Sheriff Gate. It would be nice if perhaps Supervisor Hathaway could explain for once and for all why he chose to call the sheriff. And since it has been politicized, as well as other events by the board with Joyce's approval, I think it's time for the board to acknowledge that these things are going on and push the sheriff. You seem certain times have so much pull with the sheriff, but other times just things drag and drag and drag. So I would appreciate if you would use some of your pull to get the sheriff to finalize that investigation, give a ruling, and let's move on. Otherwise, it's just another political mess that some, like the manager, would claim that they don't want to be involved in political things, but by not acting, they take a side. Even Rush taught us that. Remember the lyrics? If you choose not to decide, you've still made a choice. Well, Joyce, that's for you. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the go-to roofing issue. We had a lot of work done, our gutters and some other work done on our house by Go-To Roofing. They did a great job, and so I recommended them to a friend who needed a massive, giant barn roof redone. They gave him the best price. They did an amazing job. They got it done very quickly, and he is still talking about when an amazing crew came over and set his barn up right. So, just want to share those two things. I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next up is Pam Boyd, followed by Jan Culbertson. Pam.
Thank you, Pam Boyd, a Scio resident. I would like to take a minute and thank Mary Gillis for her years of service as deputy clerk. She has always been helpful and has been a great face of Scio Township government. I'm so glad that she will be staying as editor, and I really appreciate all that Mary has brought to helping residents. I've always been able to call her and get help when I needed it. And I just really appreciate everything that she's done in the past and going forward. So thank you, Mary Gillis. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Next up is Jan Culbertson. Jan.
Good evening, everyone. Jan Culbertson, Planning Commission Chair. And I want to, address the Carlisle Wortman proposal and also give a brief update for the Environmental Sustainability Task Force. Carlisle Wortman. First, I just want folks to observe from what is in the packet that the fees are comparable with other governmental units. And folks talk a little bit about, putting something out for proposal. And it should be noted that there are basically two planning firms and perhaps a couple of individual planners that provide these services for municipalities, and that is McKenna and Carlisle Wortman Associates. And if you look in the packet, there are some fees that are, you can compare them with McKenna's fees. The other thing to say is we have over a 30-year relationship with Carlisle Wortman. They also serve the majority of the municipalities in our area, and the scope and the expertise that they offer us is extremely beneficial. And we're seeing that especially as we're looking at creating our solar ordinance and all of the expertise that they bring. I also want to say that this is a very flexible proposal. It has a 60-day termination notice. We also, if we do larger projects, we do get a proposal from them, specifically, updating master planning. We did that for the J-Rod update, etc. So it's a very flexible proposal, and the fees are in line. Also are, and I thought perhaps we were going to do a little bit of investigation on what other municipalities charge. But it's been a very, very long time, I think 2015 possibly, since we really updated those fees. So a long time in coming. And perhaps Joyce or Carlisle Wortman can address the actual facts there. Updating the Environmental Sustainability Task Force. I want to say congratulations. We did achieve the Michigan Green Community Silver. That will allow us a 10-week fellow for a project next summer. So it'd be great to start thinking about what that project might be. We've also been invited to apply to be on their steering committee. I have asked Kathy Jevaniski to apply to that. And if anyone else is interested, I can forward them the link. We're having our native plant workshop Saturday from 10 to 12. You will see there will be an herbicide application in the areas that we're going to reduce the turf grass. So yes, it will be turning brown, but hey, the pollinators and stormwater control and all that will be benefiting from this change. We have not heard about, we are getting an award for the Community Energy Management Grant. We just haven't found out exactly what that amount will be. We did turn in, and thank you to Joyce, Jillian, Chris, Elizabeth Laporte, and Kathy Jevaniski for putting together the
Jan?
Yes.
Your 3 minutes has been
okay,
like
exceeded.
3 minutes 30. Yes.
And we are starting on the energy audit for the fire station. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. Jan.
It was a very good race to the finish.
She got a race to the finish. Yes, she did.
Anybody else interested in speaking? If you know other hands, go.
Okay, let's move on from public comment. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes this evening. The first is our special meeting of May 14th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the relatively brief minutes from that meeting? Hearing none, is someone prepared to move approval?
So
Moved by Brazeau, support by Carrie. I'm sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those minutes are approved. Approval of minutes for a regular meeting of May 14th, 2024. Are there any corrections to these draft minutes? Seeing none, is someone prepared to move approval?
I would move.
Moved by Carrie, support by Riser. Sorry, it's okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those minutes are approved. Final set of minutes are special meeting of May 22nd, 2024. Are there any corrections to these minutes?
Just wanted to give people a moment to look, because I know you just got this morning.
Okay,
It was just the review of the presentation. So there's no action, but
that's good. I was pleased to have these so quickly.
yeah, and we tried to do a good job of detailing all of the outstanding questions and ideas. since there were a lot of them, so it can be kind of our checklist.
Sure. Unless there are corrections, someone prepared to move adoption. Moved by Brazo. Support by Riser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Meeting minutes of May 22nd. That brings us to the consent agenda. Is someone prepared to move the consent agenda as
Can I just make one comment on it? I just want to note something that wasn't written down, but was confirmed earlier, G7. The DDA agreement, had, that copy is approved by our township attorney. As we requested.
someone prepared to move the consent agenda model motion?
I would move the consent agenda.
I'll support.
Moved by Riser, supported by Noel. This does require a roll.
Okay, for our rules of order, we're starting tonight with me. Flintoff, yes. Brazo?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Consent agenda adopted 6-0.
Okay, brings us to reports. We have, the first item is the monthly financial reports.
Are there any questions?
Don't see any questions.
Okay.
Don't see anyone trying to ask questions. Let's move on to regular reports. We have some written reports. Are there any oral reports that folks would like to make?
I have a couple different items.
Sure. Clerk Clinton, please
Sure.
proceed.
Sure, this is off topic, but I came across it, happened upon it, Materials Management Planning Committee by the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners. It's a public notice seeking volunteers for the Materials Management Planning Committee. And it says that there's supposed to be an elected official of a township on each. This is, it seems very similar to Warma, a lot of our other recycling initiatives. I don't recall getting notified of this. I don't know if anybody here did, but it's something that the Board of Commissioners has set up. And it's the Materials Management Planning Committee coordinated by Theo Egerman, who does our Warma and does the hazardous waste next door. But they're looking at wanting representation. So I think this is something that Scio would be well served to be represented on.
But it requires an elected official to be.
That's what it said. I didn't review their, they're looking to fill 11 to 12 positions representative of these categories. Some are township elected officials, so it might be good since we're next door and, you know, want to be progressive on this stuff for us to consider putting somebody on here.
Well, Donna's not here, so let's assign it to her.
Yeah,
That's what happens when we.
sure. And not that we need to take any action. Today it says, resumes received by July 1st will be submitted to the Board of Commissioners. Certainly it's open to a lot of people, but I think it'd be good if we had somebody from the township on it.
Did we
So
all
it might be,
receive it? I
No.
don't remember seeing that email.
again, it wasn't an email, it's something I came across at, the county, on the county clerk's website.
Materials.
So I'll circulate it, but maybe we can look at it in a future agenda.
But it's not from every township, it's just that they have categories of representation that include township officials.
Right, right. But with our ESTF and everybody that we've had so engaged in this stuff,
Yeah.
it seems like it would be. It's to ensure adequate materials management capacity for all non-hazardous solid waste recycling and compost. So,
Thank you. So you said you have one.
yeah, you can come back to me.
Oh,
That was the only one on that topic.
all right. Are there other oral reports? All right, please proceed.
Okay, I wanted to give a brief update on Gelman. The update concerns the public hearing for the NPDES permit. Did you get anything in the mail? Did you get any notification from Eagle? Because I didn't. And my name was on the public comments that we submitted.
Yeah.
But I was informed through CARD that Eagle has set up the public hearing date, which Scio Township requested. It will be Thursday, June 20th at 6 p.m. by Zoom.
Say that again, Thursday.
Thursday, June 20th, 6 p.m. by Zoom. I can send the entire board the notice of hearing that I got through CARD.
And this is a public hearing.
It is a public
So
hearing,
we should,
yes.
we should publicize it further.
Yes, I think we should. We submitted comments and we requested this public hearing. So our comments related to the proposed discharge level of the partially treated water in Honey Creek. And I know I had talked about this before, but Eagle is Gelman is asking Eagle to raise their limit of allowable discharge into Honey Creek, which is pretty significant. And we are opposing that, and we're opposing the discharge into Honey Creek because of its impact on residential drinking water wells. We have several documented wells that are showing dioxane levels at 1 part per billion in that area. So I will keep you updated. This is several weeks away. I sent the notice to Bill Stapleton and Keith today too.
We should add that information to the website and make sure that.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Great. You'll send that to Mary.
I will.
See what, thanks.
Further oral reports?
Couple other topics, Loch Alpine Sanitary Authority, next meetings, operations meetings, June 14th, and the board meeting, June 24th. Hoping to bring an item, a quick update on LASA next month, either at our June 11th or June 25th meeting to this board on LASA. The finance team, Plant Moran, Joyce, the treasurer's office, all busy prepping for the audit. The auditors, Raymond Robson, will be here to audit us. It's their first year as our auditors. They'll be on site the weeks of June 3rd and June 10th for their field work. And in regards to follow-up from the water and sewer public hearing, the kind of rate study, Joyce and I had a brief chance was it Thursday or Friday, to talk with Brian Kammeller to sort of talk about next steps of what kind of additional information he could start pulling together. And we're gonna check in with him this coming Monday, I think, during our regular check-in. But he's thinking of developing a few options for the board to look at. I know he shared kind of one option. We discussed another option. We said, hey, people like, when they have to make a decision, they like choices. So 3 or 4 choices for the board to look at in terms of how to address the needed rate increase. And we plan to have that ready for our regular Tuesday, June 11th meeting. And if there's anything else in addition to what's in the minutes that people need in terms of additional questions, information you want, please be sure to communicate those. I know Kathy wanted a presentation by our engineer, potentially.
I wanted to have discussion with our engineer on the issues that were raised.
Is that something you wanted to do offline or at a meeting?
A meeting would be fine, then everybody could hear it.
Okay.
And I had some questions too. I had a conversation with Brandon and I will, got your email, Ms. Brandt.
Good.
I can commit them to writing and send them to Brandon.
Okay, great. Perfect.
When would this be, Jessica?
June 11th. So Kathy, would you like us to invite Matt Parks to be there? Okay, yes.
Any further oral reports before I turn to our township manager? All right. You have the
Okay.
floor.
So I have a couple of items. I did provide a copy, like a draft of the strategic priorities that we discussed last December with the facilitator. And since that time, I've met with most departments and I've been able to get some clarity on whether certain items should be included or not, and whether they should be considered as short-term or long-term goals. And so you have like 2 years or less under short-term, 3 years or more under long-term goals. So I've been able to include that information. There's a few items that I feel more information is required on a few of the items, and so I'll be able to pull that information together. But I wanted to provide the draft, ask you to take a look at it, and if there are changes that you think need to be made, please, either you could send me a copy back, or I can send it to you electronically. You can add your comments so that I can compile the information. And the goal here is to have the information available to work with our departments as far as establishing goals, either short-term or long-term, as a measurement of how well we're doing. And then we'll provide reports back to the board related to the items.
Excuse me, can we get copies of that put in the agenda? It's not in the agenda package.
Yes, I can get a copy to you.
Yeah, and I'll add it to the revised packet after tonight's meeting.
Couple quick questions. Well, for folks, it's not, if it's number one priority, there is only number one priority. This is the comment, but, are these stacked ranked?
Are they
Stacked ranked?
stacked what?
Stacked ranked. Are they ranked by?
Yes, and
level of
actually,
priority?
yeah, actually during the session in December, they were ranked at that point in time. And so when the facilitator provided her written report, she provided the strategic priorities as stated here, as well as the report related to the entire session. And I can send that out to you too.
Okay. You send it, you can send it, looks like it's an Excel spreadsheet, you can send it to
Yeah.
an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I can send that out electronically.
Then comment in the sheet.
But I wanted to bring it up because one of the items that we're working on is related to like performance evaluations for employees. And so we're trying to put the pieces together, and this is one of the pieces I'd like to see take place as we move forward.
That's a good start. Great. Yeah, awesome.
And Joyce, I think I really like that it's kind of laid out in a way that it is kind of like a status report that we can use. I think, as I mentioned before, that this still probably needs, and I don't know exactly how we would do it as a group, or if we want to assign it to a staff person, but a lot of these need to be validated. These priorities from that group, you know, because that group we had, it was kind of a moment in time in December. A great group of people, but validated, comparing it against some of the adopted plans we already have. So the PROS plan, the SCAP plan, now we have the transit committee, the master plan, and kind of looking across that to see which of these are, I guess, valid, and then which are kind of the same size, right? Like some of these are small things, like not small as in easy, but very concrete, like create a policy and a procedure and educate the community about code enforcement. That makes a lot of sense. Some of these others, place a deposit on and order a ladder truck and replacement H2O tanker for fire. But then there's like big ones, like evaluate the needs for police protection. Like, and so I think the kind of unevenness, not that they're all that some are more
Wait,
important,
by
the waiting,
you can wait.
but some are
Yeah, more
bigger,
complex.
some are ongoing. And I'd also say in terms of performance, which is something I really want to see us implement is some kind of performance-based evaluation and management. I don't know, well, each staff person certainly needs the objectives. I think that there's a lot of things around performance that are kind of unrelated to the specifics of what their job is, that it's, kind of the
Right.
generic
Yeah,
parts of just performing well at work.
So two other comments here. If we're gonna dive into this, I was gonna save it, but I might as well put them in now. So you're missing two key elements here. The number one key element you're missing, you've given me the what, but you haven't given me the why. And so you say, all right, so we need to evaluate the needs for police protection. Why do I need to do this? Are they inadequate today? Is there, what's the driver? Why am I doing it, right? Because the why would really kind of enforce the priority of why they've done this. And somewhat to Jess's point, it also will help you decide what the weight is, right? When I understand the why, right? Because that kind of tells me the criticality. What we also, I don't see is, all right, if they did, who I hold responsible, who's accountable? If we do say this is the thing you've done, who am I holding accountable for that? It looks like you've got a when, that's implemented timeline. I'd like to see that a little more specific than 2 years or less than 3, but I figure we'll get down to this. It's a good start.
yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to be discouraging
No,
here.
no.
It's a great start. We
Yeah.
started at 0. This is good, but those would be the things I would look at, right? It's always who, what, where, and why, and when, right? So there's no, number one thing is getting the why.
So one question, I know, Jessica, you had mentioned the group, which group are you referring to?
December 2nd group? Oh, the group in December when we
Okay,
had
to
the
bring
shooting.
that group back, I wasn't.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
that's-
that group was kind of like, it was,
More like brainstorm.
yeah, it was more like
Vision-
brainstorming, like it felt like that was a
visioning.
first pass. They, not everybody had even levels of information, even levels of decision making. I found it great to like listen and hear people's ideas. It's certainly, we didn't have any data in front of us, kind of budget, stuff like that. I can see how priorities can overlay with our annual budget process. I think we should look at this alongside our capital plan and just kind of see where there's nexus across each area. But I think it really goes to how you suggest we use it. If the primary end game is to set some priorities for staff people, then that's one product. If it's more of a strategic plan for this township board, then I think it would look different.
And at the December 2nd meeting, when we had ideas, did we say why? Or
Well,
did the,
Yeah, and I think there was some of that as part of the meeting, and I sent the report out, but it was a while ago, so I probably should send the report out as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Because it did kind of detail
Mm-hmm.
the discussion and why certain things were included.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I think both Jessica's suggestion and
And
Mark's,
Mark's, yeah.
and I think you could have like additional columns.
Yeah, say column.
And just sort of build out
Mhm.
the framework a little further.
Okay.
Mhm.
So is there any interest in maybe having a couple of people work with me on this?
I'll help you through this.
I could work on it.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I do have one other.
Oh, sorry.
So that was one. The other is related to, the email gate or email issue that has come up several times and it's been outstanding for a while. There's a couple of questions that came up tonight and I can respond to those. One was related to, the sheriff's department and whether the sheriff's department could expedite, a decision related to, this investigation. And I did meet with, the sheriff's department and the case is in the prosecutor's office.
When did you meet with them?
About maybe a week to 10 days ago, prior to, well, it was after our last meeting. And I was told at that meeting that they have pushed to get some type of resolution or some type of decision. However, they do not have anything more that they can do related to the case. It's in the prosecutor's office. So that did take place. The other thing, the attorney, myself, and Clerk Flintoff did meet to take a look at kind of summarizing where things are at in order to bring something in some final format to the board. It's not completed, and as a result, it's not something that we presented. And then there was a question raised regarding additional interviews. And just to clarify, the administrative review did not include interviews. It was more administrative and forensic. However, because that question did come up, I did reach out to the company and raise the question about, again, why they did not conduct any interviews. And I was told that they did not, primarily because they didn't see the report changing, and it's really not their area of expertise. They use a subcontractor to do that if we're interested in doing something like that. So I did request a cost in the event that the board is interested, and I can provide that information once I receive it. And so that's the status to date.
Thank you, Joyce.
Anything further?
Oh, that's it. for
That's,
me.
okay.
I got one more for you, Joyce. Could you give, the board and the public a little update on the, transit millage education effort? I think it was about a year ago, we were at this table, talking about how we could do a better job educating on the fire question that we were putting out to voters. And I know it's a different type of question with a renew and restore, but it's on the ballot for August 6th. And was wondering if you could share a little about what kind of education we're doing on that question.
Okay, so the transit committee did meet a couple of weeks ago to talk about the potential for one-time capital improvements and putting together a plan in that regard. So that's something that we should be able to provide to the board within the next 2 or 3 weeks. In terms of educating the public, there's several areas we've discussed internally. We've talked about the newsletter and certainly having a column in the newsletter that explains in more detail the millage, what it means to renew and restore, how those funds would be used, how they've been used in the past, so that we can educate the public related to the millage. In addition to that, we're going to look at including probably either a postcard or a fact sheet with the tax bills when they go out in July as another way of educating the public related to the millage. Certainly, we'll have information on our website. We'll have information available when we send out our water bills. We probably will hold some type of informational meeting here at the Township Hall as well, and in any other location if there's a request to do so.
Great, thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
In that case, let's move on from reports to unfinished business. The first item is the development review rates. This is an item that we had at our last meeting, and as you may have noticed, there's now an additional chart that compares proposed fees with current fees. So we can look at them side by side. And I noticed going through the minutes that there was also a reference to OHM's fees, which is not captured in this particular chart, and would be a lot of information. But I did make copies of the handout that we had at our last meeting that does have OHM's fees on it. So if someone has a question about them, that's a resource that's available.
And I just want to say too, we acknowledge that, this is just, a small piece, Joyce, of the fees that we're gonna need to be looking at and updating, that we're handling tonight.
And actually, Joyce, this is your agenda item, so if you want to comment.
On the fees.
Yeah, on the development review rates.
Yeah, actually, the fee structure that's being presented is one that has been discussed with Carlisle Wortman. And, based on our discussion with them, they're recommending that the fee schedule be adopted primarily to cover the costs associated with, the services that they provide. I don't know, Laura or Dick, if you have any comments beyond that that you'd like to add.
No, well, I just would say that, the fees in front of you are pass-through fees to the developer. So currently, a developer, when they apply for a site plan or a PUD, they pay a administrative fee to Scio Township. They pay a Carlisle Wortman fee and they pay an OHM fee. They may pay a township attorney fee. And those are all fees that go into a pot, and when we complete our review, that's the amount that we bill the township. And so those are pass-through fees. Those are not, those don't come from the general fund. Those are fees that the developer pays for our services.
So it's Kathy, is this what you wanted here, the second
was.
exhibit A?
Are there any other questions or comments about the fees? We did have some discussion of this at our last meeting.
And the effective date, if we make it effective immediately, then that starts tomorrow, Mariah?
I would say yes.
Okay.
And should we?
Oh, yeah, I'll let Fran know right away. Yep.
Have a last week.
So is someone prepared to make the model motion to adopt the attached resolution updating the schedule of fees for Scio Township's development review process?
So moved.
Moved by Flintoff, supported by Bordeaux. Please call the roll.
Hey, Flintoff, yes. Brazo?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Resolution adopted 6-0. Thank you, Lauren. Good.
Next item is under unfinished business is item J2. This is the Jackson Road pump station fence.
Brandon.
So, do we need Brandon? I mean, I read it. Do we need Brandon need further?
I can comment.
Yes.
Scott. It's okay, Joyce has it.
Joyce has got it.
The fence, we got it.
Yeah, so I think at our last meeting, there was a question about whether there was a process in order to waive the fees. And Brandon did get with our attorney, and she indicated that there isn't any like resolution or anything beyond just the approval that's necessary. And so Brandon included that language in the communication.
Yeah, right.
Anything more, Mariah?
No, I don't think so. The question was, are we required to conform to our zoning ordinance? And would we need some kind of exemption to have an 8-foot fence? And the answer is no, we're not required to conform, and the 8-foot fence is what's recommended and is what makes sense, so.
Brandon, did you like shop that fence around? Is that like about a decent price?
came out.
Is that like-
Yeah, when this was first proposed, I think 3 or 4 meetings ago now, there was 3 quotes on that proposed agenda item. And I just didn't bring them forth with this being
Nice, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They were prior packet.
correct. They were all out for you guys to see them prior to this.
Yeah. Thought so.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move it.
The question was just
Would you like to move the?
I would like to move it.
Yeah.
So moved by Brazo to approve superior fence and rail in the amount not to exceed $21,500 for installation of an 8-foot protection fence around the Jackson Road pump station. Is there a second? Support by Noel.
I have a friendly amendment to just add to the model motion from Fund 590 sewer capital outlay.
Yeah, sure, that's sure.
Right, with that friendly amendment, Please call the roll.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Motion adopted 6-0. Thanks, Brandon.
Next item, I believe we have our assessor to,
She's on Zoom with us.
she said she would be. She'll just be a disembodied voice.
Which one are you talking about? Cable?
Andrea, welcome.
Yes.
Hi,
this is
guys.
K1.
Hey, Andrea, thanks for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
We're up to K1, which is readoption of the poverty exemptions guidelines for 2024. And if you would like to give a brief explanation for why we are doing this, I think that would probably help the board.
Yes, during our audit process that we're going through, the person who was doing our audit recommended that we change a couple of items in our already adopted poverty guidelines. The first one is on page 4. The wording that says the board of review may waive the income tax. The way the poverty guidelines are set up is how the state wants them to be. They don't want to give any leeway to the board of review that they may waive an income test. So that's the primary reason for that. And the other item is on page 5. The only thing I can figure out is that they perhaps don't want how we determine the poverty exemption percentage that the applicant would get. I don't know why that's a troubling item for them. I won't know until my meeting of June 10th with the representative for the audit. So other than that, that's the only thing I can figure. They don't want it out there how we calculate it.
And, well, Andrea, can I just clarify that the audit is with the tax tribunal, correct?
State.
It's with the state tax commission.
Okay. Thank you.
And Andrea, is it right to assume this is model language they're recommending for all boards of reviews?
This is for the poverty guidelines that can be presented to the March, July, and December boards of review. It's required by the state to have some type of a poverty guideline set up, so the applicant knows what's required of them. So this is a model that was used, I believe, the assessor before me developed these guidelines. And then I go through them every year and change the year and make sure, you know, any laws that have been changed or statutes that have been changed are included in there.
And Andrea, I remember discussing these exemption criteria in prior years at this board table. And I think the new language, the new language is, it's more simple, and I can see how it could be at least interpreted as being a little more easy to implement and fairly apply. Particularly, you know, does not have assets which can reasonably be invested, sold, or used. Is not expected to receive contribution. Those things make more sense. So.
Right, I agree also.
Yeah.
Unless there are further questions or comments, is someone prepared to make the model motion to adopt the attached resolution approving 2024 amended poverty exemption guidelines? So moved by Brazeau.
Support by Riser.
Support by Riser. I think we probably should have a roll call vote for this.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yep.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Resolution adopted 6-0. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea.
Okay, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. That brings us to item K2. This is the Carlisle Workman Associates contract, and I will turn to the township manager to introduce this item, but if you would like to come forward in case there's questions or comments, I'm guessing there will be.
So basically, included in the packet is a proposed agreement with Carlisle Workman for consulting services. The term on the agreement is for 1 year with an option to renew. it coincides as well with the fee structure that was just approved tonight in order to put all the pieces together. And so I think at this point, I'd like to try to entertain any questions that the board might have, and we have again, Dick and Laura here that can help with the questions.
Yeah, so a few things. So I had some, communication with Jan, I think so a couple things to consider is like, do we need some kind of competitive bidding? And the answer is a couple things there that I said, hey, look, can we go out and at least get competitive pricing and to see, are we even charged fairly compared to everybody else? I think the answer was yes. So that was question one to resolve. The second thing for me anyways, is when you have somebody who's done business with us for 30 years, there's a lot of knowledge transfer that's in that. Even if you decide, hey, these guys aren't necessarily the folks for us and we should try somebody else, there's a cost to doing it, a big cost to it. Once you kind of invest heavily in that knowledge base that these folks have, and not that I've got any horse in this race with Kyle Wortman, I don't, as you guys know. But the logic drives that staying with Kyle Wortman makes a lot of sense. My other understanding is I don't think this is an exclusive agreement, is that right? Township attorney person?
Yeah, well, I think the one thing is not exclusive in the sense that, if there are other items other than the services that are stated here, we can go out for bid for those services. And they can submit a proposal, or we could ask others to do the same.
Okay, so the only we're really tying ourselves to is a rate card. So I just want to make sure I'm just down to the none of it. I'm tying to a rate card of and if I'm wrong here, you guys tell me. I mean, I absolutely know you. So here's my summary of data points that I understand, and please tell me if I'm wrong. So I've got a rate card that seems comparable to others in the industry, which is fine, right? Even if they were 10% higher, I'd say it'd still be fine. I think that is, mitigated due to the fact that they've done business with us for 30 years. My understanding is that they've been happy with them. We've been happy with the work that they've done. We have an out clause. I've got an exit clause that's in 60 days. I'm happy with them. So we've got all kinds of outs if things just go sideways. That feels all comfortable to me as you guys know, I'm a contracts guy. I do hundreds of contracts a year. So that all stuff seems good. We got lots of outs in there, which is good. Contract leads in our favor. But if there's something I'm missing, please tell me.
Yeah, no, we can go in order, whatever you want.
Okay, that's this mark some.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not sure which direction.
I don't know
I'll start with John, and then go to me.
All right.
So thank you for putting this together. Has this been vetted? Has the agreement been vetted through township council?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you for providing the comps, and we put those together internally. Who put the comps
We
together?
did it internally, Chris Chang and I.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then it's my understanding that this gets us another year, or we can re-up it after that year with a 60-day out clause. Is that correct?
Right.
If upon notice of either party. So it's another year, subject to 60-day cancellation, automatically renews if you don't cancel.
Right.
And then the rates reflected are on the back. And, it appears that they're competitive based on kind of adjacent, similar, other.
I thought these were provided by Carlisle Wortman though, Joy.
No,
These
Chris,
rates.
Chris worked on it.
Oh, he did,
Yeah,
okay.
he might
Yeah.
have, I think he reached out to them
Ben,
if
okay.
it was related to some work that they did.
Okay.
But he did. the work
Okay.
on it.
Okay. And I see a dearth of planning consultants. Is that just,
I don't know.
is that kind of the market? Is that the lay of the land from consultants?
Isn't what Jan said in the
Yeah,
public comment?
yeah, McKenna,
There's
yeah.
basically two firms.
Yeah, McKenna's been around a long time as well. But just based on our review, Carlisle Wortman is one of the key planning consulting firms for this area.
I think they also called around and checked like, hey, what is Colorado charging other townships as
Yeah,
well,
that's
to make sure that
included here.
we're not being overcharged.
And I guess kind of a hypothetical, what if we wanted to do these services in-house? How long would it take to bring on staff, or is there given any thought to that? Or is there given any thought to kind of evaluating that process in the next 10 months, I guess. It'd have to be 10
Yeah,
months, so we'd
and-
get 2 weeks, 2
Right,
months.
if
to
you know, if you
figure it out.
decide to do that, certainly, I think that's an option. Just speaking from my own experience, let's say you bring the services in-house in most cases, you're still gonna need an outside consultant because the person that you bring on board may or may not have the experience level in all of the areas. So what I have experienced, over the years is that generally, when you have in-house staff, you still use consultants for various parts of the work.
You know, John, with stuff like this, I mean, I'm just thinking that what you get with a bigger organization, you get the experience of what they've done with all the other townships and all their stuff, so.
Okay,
Stuff like this,
I'm one of 7, so
Yeah,
I yield.
but you're right, there might be a good hybrid.
Why don't we make our way around, so
do
that way
that.
everyone gets a turn? John, I don't
No,
want to cut you off.
thank you.
Trustee Noel.
Some of my comments are gonna be similar to John's. We had talked as a group in the past about looking at bringing some of our planning services in-house, not necessarily all, but some. And I know that there has been concern from several board members that we want to have a sense that our planner, and right now that's Carlisle Wortman, understands our goals or our perceived goals in the community. And this is what you and I were going to be talking with Laura about. But I think we also owe it to residents to give a clear statement as to why we haven't gone out for bids. I mean, I think we need to say a little bit more about that. Because yes, Carlisle Wortman offers a wealth of historical information for us, and I value that. But we also owe it to taxpayers to at least compare. And indeed, maybe we wouldn't want to go with another firm. I don't know, but we haven't even looked. So I think we should consider at least getting a bit more information. So I think that Carlisle Wortman brings a lot to the table and they have helped us a lot. I think there are some issues and I think that we have a fiduciary responsibility to residents in the township, and it might make sense to at least get more information from one other firm. If there's only one other firm, that firm.
We don't know that. There could be more than one.
Yeah. Correct.
So I just want to establish no one here.
No, I-
knows that.
I see the
Okay.
map in the back, there's.
Yeah. I'm done. Thank you. You already spoke.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dick, I'm really glad you're here. Laura, thank you for being here. I just want to say, Laura, you've been doing a really good job since being primary here in Scio Township, and communication has improved, work product quicker. So thank you. I want to say that to you and in front of Dick. Yes. I want to say as well, you know, a huge portion of our, you know, we've had a very small staff in the township. It's been undersized. We've relied heavily, I think too heavily, on contractors, generally speaking. We've started the process of moving some of that in-house, starting with code enforcement. And I know that Ralph was trying to retire and we wouldn't let him. And he kept helping us out until we were able to create the code enforcement position, and with Sean, who's doing a wonderful job. I would like to see us take the next step. And I don't know if it's zoning official work that comes in-house. I don't know if it's a portion of the planning work that comes in-house, but I'd like to ask you to talk with Joyce about kind of what that next step would be, about what piece of the work could come in-house maybe in about a year. Because what I notice is it's not just the cost, but it's also just the ability to really represent the township. And you behave as though you're staff, as though you're part of the township. And there's just something different with having a staff person who's kind of holding that knowledge. And because we've had Doug here for so long, he kind of functioned as a staff person. But I'd like to see a chunk of the work, a portion of the planning or the zoning, whatever it is that makes sense to kind of bring in-house. I also like to see a separation ideally between who the planner is and who the zoning official is. Ideally, right? That's another check and balance there. So that we have the person kind of helping to create the code and somebody else trying to enforce the code. So I just want to ask that we work on that in the next year. I'm supportive of this contract because it's 1 year and because I know we're going to embark on kind of looking at bringing some in-house, going out to bid, and it's for a period of 1 year. And I'm supportive of it, just given if we can take a look at what parts we can bring in-house. I also want to thank Joyce and Carla Wortman for finally getting this together, because we haven't had a current contract in place with Carlisle Wortman for years. It hurts you, it hurts us. So I'm glad we're getting this resolved and also raising the rates. I have a couple suggested edits to the scope of work. Number 4, under attachment 1, number 4, if you're amenable, Lauren Dick, prepare with staff assistance all PC, ZBA, and BOT agendas and materials and applicable notices. We don't have to add materials, but just want to make sure that's part of the understanding. Laura's done a great job of writing those things up for us, and I want to make sure that continues to be part of the scope. And then one correction under number 8, instead of zoning administrator, to say zoning official, if we could, since that's the terminology in the code and in the ordinance we're going to consider.
Sorry, what was the change to number 4?
Yeah. To add BOT agendas, add and materials.
Oh, I see, and materials. So that replaces applicable notices or in addition to applicable?
And materials and applicable notices.
So agendas, comment, materials, and
Sure.
applicable notices.
Yep, that sounds good. And then number 8, instead of zoning administrator, zoning official.
Any further comments?
I just,
Trustee Carey?
yeah, thank you, Laura. It's been, in my short term here, has been good to work with you. And I have to say that the communication has improved quite a bit and you're keeping us up informed. I really like that. I'd like to know what's going on in our township. I do have to agree with my colleagues that we need to definitely look at different aspects of what we want in-house, if that we go there. And also, we do owe it to residents to go out for bid. It may end up being nothing, but I believe that this contract for 1 year, we could get that done. At least we'll have some type of knowledge by the end of that year. And with the 60 days within that, we could accomplish this. But yeah, I think this is good. We're growing up as a township.
Well, I just wanted to think that I can work out.
You may have another
I'm on
comment.
wild side, going to order. First, you have your turn too. So yeah, just want to comment that first off, Jess, I 100% agree. My understanding was, here's a contract that we have for a year. That gives us a chance to really look, what can we start taking on? Because I agree with you. We need to start taking on
We have to commit to doing that.
what makes sense. Have an outside party that has a broader experience on things where that does make sense. Right? There's just some things we may not know in our little, tunnel portal of the world. But that gives us a year to do that. My comment was just really towards just tactically, towards this 1 year commitment that we have in front of us today. This seems reasonable to do. We can't just start shopping now. We don't have we gotta keep moving, right? But I wholeheartedly, I think we're all saying the same thing. That gives us time to look at bringing the parts that we can in-house, 100%.
Township manager, would you like to make a comment?
Oh, I was just going to also agree, and I think we've started that process to some extent with Chris Chang because of his planning background.
Yeah.
And he's working with Laura in certain areas related to zoning issues, also going out on site. Maybe Laura, you could just speak to that a little bit.
Share a little?
Yeah, so Chris is helping me with inspections, due to, only being here 2 days a week. It's difficult to get out of this building a lot of times because I'm in meetings and phone calls and other things. So Chris is helping me do inspections for final zoning compliance. He also assists at the counter when I can't be here because he does have that zoning and planning and zoning background. So you're never without someone that has zoning knowledge in this building. And so Chris and I work together on those types of things. And I'm sure as Chris is here longer, those things might evolve even more, so.
I'd like to speak. Thank you. It actually has been 35 years. Scio Township was my second client. After, when I started Carlisle Associates in 1987, I think Celine was the first, I'm sorry, but second client in Washtenaw County. I'd already had clients up in Oakland County. We did not grow this firm by being inflexible and we never defined our scope of work here. You defined it for us as a township. And Trustee Knoll will remember when Trustee Knoll was Clerk Knoll and a new slate of officers came in with some similar designs on changing things. And I said, just take 6 months, decide what you want to do. You remember that conversation? I think it was with interims manager Hanson and Gene King, God rest her soul at the time. And as time went on, I think that board made some decisions about what they wanted to do. We are still here, obviously. We work in a lot of different situations with a lot of different communities. Some have a more robust staff, some don't. Some have it and they lose it, and then we come back in and we're there. And have done that in many cases. So as your needs change, our approach to how we can serve you can change also. I will tell you that there really aren't a lot of us around, to be very honest, in terms of the types of services that we provide, because not a lot of people want to do the kind of in-depth, type of service that we provide to communities. And over this period of time, you've had 3 highly experienced planners working with you over 35 years. It's been me, it's been Doug, and now it's Laura. So you've never had you could have called me a rookie in 1988 maybe, but I wasn't that much of a rookie back then even, but you've always had somebody experienced from our company representing you, and that won't change. So we're happy to serve you in any way that we can.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add just a couple of thoughts. First, my first role here at Scio Township was serving on the planning commission, and I feel like I learned all about planning from Carlisle Wardman, as well as my colleagues on the planning commission. But I think it's a learning experience, and part of what your firm brings to that situation is a breadth and depth of knowledge and sort of a teaching approach. I think Doug, I can remember many situations where Doug was basically educating the planning commission about what it was that we were dealing with in some unusual situation, or sort of walking us through ordinance amendments that we were considering. And actually, I took a workshop that I think on planning basics from Doug at some point years ago. So I appreciate everything that your firm brings, and the sort of level of knowledge transfer that's going on there, the skills that you're building within the volunteers who make up the township government. The other thing I think will be interesting to sort of parse out. I hear what you're saying, Clerk Flintoff, about trying to figure out which piece might make sense to bring back in-house. And I say bring back in-house because if we're doing the zoning review, the zoning compliance review, I think that was a function that had been sort of absorbed into our assessing department to some degree.
Yes, residential, single family residential was part of assessing for quite some time.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's not, it's, what we're talking about isn't that revolutionary necessarily. But at the same time, I think there's a value to having the Carlisle Wortman expertise, particularly when it's the development review process at the planning commission level and then at the board of trustees, because there's an element of zoning enforcement that is kind of inherent in that review process, and I don't think you can sort of completely pull it apart. So I hope that we, as a township, as we approach this question of what can be brought in, that we're thinking this through, what makes the most sense in terms of the process, in terms of doing a good job of planning, as opposed to just, sort of arbitrarily, not that anyone's suggesting that, but not just sort of pushing something in for the sake of pushing something back into the township. Is someone prepared to make the model motion to approve the attached contract with Carlisle Wortman Associates and authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign on behalf of Scio Township?
So moved.
Moved by Brazeau, second by Carrie.
Could we just friendly amendment to approve the attached contract as amended,
As amended,
right?
yes. Okay, as amended. Please call the roll.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yes.
Carrie? Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Motion adopted 6-0. Thanks both for being here.
Thank you.
Well, you could stay, we're gonna have another item.
Thank you for staying.
So you could go.
Okay, you can take senior privilege. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
If you stick around, we might make you our zoning official. All right, so the next item is item K3. This is the zoning administrator designation or zoning official. And I will turn to our township manager. This is another of your agenda items.
So primarily, there's a need to designate, a zoning official, that actually represents the township on zoning issues. And, our attorney put together the language where, basically the person serving in the capacity as the planning consultant would serve in that capacity, which would be Laura Krebs. It doesn't state the name, it just states the position.
Which makes sense because in case that position
Changes.
you don't have to go back to the board.
Exactly.
I believe that was one of your arguments in favor of this approach, is to give us some flexibility.
Intentionally vague, which I know not everyone loves, but the idea is that right now, the zoning official is Doug Lawan. And Doug Lawan isn't doing that job anymore, and it doesn't make sense to keep his name there. And so do we really want to come back every time and change the name, or do we want to say it's either an employee that the township has designated if you decide to do it in-house, or it's the planning consultant? So,
And it
yeah.
says by virtue of a contract with a planning and zoning consultant, that person assigned primarily to Scio Township. And so I just want to make sure that ties back to attachment 1, number 8,
Yes.
where I said zoning official.
Yes, it does. It
Right.
also ties into the contract that you just approved for Carlisle Warren, where it says that Ben Carlisle is the primary, Laura Krebs is the assigned. So in this case, Laura Krebs is your zoning official, but we're
So
not gonna
this
put her specific name in.
This refers to a job description.
In-house, if we have.
If you have an in-house.
One or the other.
Okay.
So I take,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. And I just wanted to know, you talked about turnover. I wanted to know, what turnover has there been? I mean, it's been dug for many, many
I think we could
years.
strike that whereas.
Yeah, I think what the attorney was stating is that he was named as the zoning
Right.
official by name.
Right.
However, if for some reason there's a new person, if you just state how you designate by position, that person would automatically be in that position as zoning official.
That's okay. It's just different.
Yeah. And then I think the other change is having language that allows the zoning official to designate a person in the event. For example, like if Chris Chang is working on zoning issues, she can designate him to do that.
Okay.
Trustee Riser, did you have a?
When you say the sheet, do you mean Laura Krebs or do you mean?
Laura Krebs.
So looking at, I assume that the zoning person is going to be someone. It's gonna be an employee if that employee has a job description. If not, it's going to be Carlisle Wortman and the primary person we have at Carlisle Wortman under the current contract.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, I'm good.
Could I jump on that though? Because that's only if though. Mariah, I just want to check this, by virtue of a contract with a planning and zoning consultant. A contract that says that they'll, attachment 1, number 8, act as zoning official.
Yes.
Because,
Right.
okay, so I'm wondering, could we say something in the resolution that states by virtue of a contract? You know, where the services include acting as zoning official?
Well, maybe we just want to put at the end of that line, that person assigned primarily to Scio Township, comma, to act as zoning
Perfect.
official.
Thank you. Because we could have other contracts with other planners that don't include being a zoning
Correct.
official.
So there's a modification to the resolution.
To, yeah, after Scio Township will, comma, to act as zoning
Official.
official.
Sorry, John, go on.
No.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then in the future, if we're all not here, how are they gonna know who the zoning official is? So it would just be in the contract, which in a year.
Yeah.
Well, either it's in, I think it's in the contract, or we hire someone, or we designate an employee in their job description to do it. In other words, I think it's in-house as a default, but if not, it's to someone in a contract.
So
That's
it'll be
how
listed
I-
on the website?
Because no one has the job description of being a zoning.
Right, I said if we have,
If
it. If we have,
yeah.
it, that's,
So it will be listed on the website who our zoning official is, so people know.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can do, yeah.
Okay, because that's, I mean,
Yeah.
right.
Further questions or
We should
comments?
just add that to the directory. It's
Yeah,
not clear.
I think we need to do that.
I think it
I
is.
don't think I've ever looked at the directory. I don't know where I'm, if
Yeah.
I'm on it or not. I don't
You
know.
are on it. You are, yeah.
I answer the phone, I get
We
emails.
can check the title and make sure it says zoning official.
I'm ready to move the model resolution as amended on the floor.
So there actually isn't a model motion, I noticed, but you can say to
To
approve,
adopt the resolution?
to adopt the
Yeah.
resolution
As amended.
as
Yeah, as
amended.
amended, yeah.
So moved by Riser or support by Brazeau. Please call the roll.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Resolution adopted 6-0.
Okay,
Thanks, Laura.
thank you. Laura.
Yeah, see you guys Thursday.
All right, Brandon, you're back up.
Right.
K4, Colorasi Landscaping.
So in preparing this, this was something that me and Joyce talked about for a couple of months back and forth about different options that we could do. If we could try to do this in-house, volunteer base, or what the best solution would be. I did get 3 quotes. Sorry that I didn't list them all on here. Colorasi was the low bid. They are local. Given that they haven't been maintained in 2 to 3 years, which is the best that I could come up with talking to township employees. The best way, I believe, to take care of it is to contract this out. And then for us to maintain it afterwards as needed, which would be in Kevin's duties. I just believe it's too much for one person to tackle as it is right now. So that's why me and Joyce were recommending that we contract this work out.
No, I only, there's questions.
I have questions, but I'll wait my turn.
Why don't you take a turn right now?
So this is no new plants. This is just weeding and chemical, right?
Correct.
And like we talked about pollinators and doing more than just potentially bees on vacant land, but promoting natives and promoting, not chemical treatments that would kill bees and other pollinators. So spray existing beds and then wait for weeds to die. So what any sense of what they're gonna be sprayed with respect to the chemicals?
It should be, some type of herbicide. If the board does choose not to do the herbicide, I can also, I don't know if there'll be an added cost. We could get with the company and see if they'll just till it opposed to spraying them. That way it could ease that situation.
So how many beds are linear feet or like how do you, what's the scope of the work?
So the scope of the work
Is it only here at Township or is it the fire field?
just here, just the perimeter of the building. So the scope of the work would be, yes, to kill off all the non-needed weeds that are currently in there. They will not be moving any of the plants that are currently in the beds. Then they would prepare it for a flower mat to protect the weeds from germinating through as they are right now. Then they will re-edge it, re-mulch it, shape up any of the plants and trim any of the plants that they can. They will also refresh any of the ag rock that is currently primarily on the east facing side of the building. And they will be killing the weeds that are growing out of that area as well. And so that's kind of the overall scope of the work that they would be doing.
Are there any of the native plantings still intact?
I'm not a florist, or I'm sorry, so I don't know exactly any of the natives, to be honest.
It's okay, Brandon.
So I'm not sure what survived from when the township people put those in there, but if they are there, they will not be removed. And I do believe after this is refreshed, if it was approved, me and Joyce would be looking into buying additional flowering and adding it as needed where it needs to be, so that it looks a little bit nicer, and that those can be more natives if need be.
So Brandon, I was concerned as John is about the spray. And a question about the double shredded brown mulch. All mulches are not created equal. Is that also something kind of natural or is that maybe also include dyed or?
Yeah, I'm assuming it would be dyed.
You can designate what type.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, if we don't want it to be dyed,
something natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just generally, I'm not a florist either.
That's like, the whole picture.
there you go.
Just so you know.
Exactly. Thank you, Marcus. But I would like to get some, like a review, like June 1st, we're doing all the native plantings under the solar panel. We're talking about bees and it feels a little like we haven't really taken a sustainability lens on this. And I know, Kevin was kind enough to walk through with our former clerk, Nancy Hedberg, who did a lot of the work with David on this. I'm just wondering if you and Kevin have consulted or could consult somebody who's a little more familiar with how to do kind of sustainable native plantings.
So I did contact the company that is doing the fire department.
Okay.
They did, give us a bid. The bid was, definitely more than what Colorasi came in at. Yes, as far as the mulch, they can give us an updated cost if it's cheaper or more for non-dyed. If we don't want to do the herbicide to kill the, weeds, we can certainly, see if we could remove that from the bid and just have Kevin, till up.
Volunteers too.
Right, or, yeah, I mean, that, tilling it it's practical for him to do. We would have enough time to do that, so, and then, yeah, as far as adding more additional planning, we could always revisit, with professionals. I mean, probably no problem to go down there when they're doing the, plant installations at the pump station to get an idea of what they're using and incorporate that into the township hall.
What is the cost estimate of the flowers? Because it sounds like part 1 of 2.
So I didn't look into that at all. I don't know what it's gonna look like actually once it's done and it looks proper, as far as what we have out there. So that would just be something that we would just handle, from my opinion, solely internally. And, something that, we'd pick out some plant material and see, basically I'd be talking with Joyce to see if we want to go that route with what plant material. If there needs to be additional insight on it, that's totally welcome. And then if need be, then we would order that and Kevin would put it in.
Yeah, if there, I will not approve this if there's herbicides or any chemicals. And regarding the mulch, I think I brought this up to Kevin before when we were discussing this, chip drop. They will deliver 10, 20 yards of wood chips for free. I mean, that's sustainable. And I mean, I use that in pretty much my whole yard. A lot of work, but, yeah, something like that. And then
So
I just want to see more natural and, if we're going for the whole environmental thing, I think we need to be within that.
Start at home.
yeah, so I did get with Kevin and Kevin, did inquire on that chip drop. So they did say that, yes, we could get that much. It's just a matter of when. And there's no set date and time. So if we did a portion of the work, but then didn't have the mulch, half the work. Huh?
They're fast.
Are they?
Yeah.
So, and then if we chose that route, is it just non-treated wood chips or is it more like?
It's just the wood that people, when they take down a tree or whatever, then
Okay.
they chip it up and then they deliver it.
Okay, so we do have a different option as far as that goes too. I did explore that with Joyce. We just thought, for the quicker turnaround to get our building looking professional the way that we believe it should be, this is what we thought was the best solution, to bring to the board. So that's why we proposed it this way, was a quicker turnaround, make it look more professional. And then we could address any more flowers or native plants that we want to put in there.
Yeah, one thing that Nancy did, when she was here, and I really liked it, is along the sidewalk when you first come up to the building.
Yes.
On both sides, she had, sometimes the flowers pop up now and
Yeah.
it looked really, really nice.
So I don't believe that's included in this work, but that is something that I did mention to Kevin that I would like, done. And, so I believe some of the plant material is currently up is iris. Could be wrong.
There's an iris over here.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of individual plants that are coming up and I thought
Yeah.
that's what they were. Survivors.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that area in particular, I thought it would be nice to do, more of a flower annual, a little bit more colorful, and then the rest can be native. Huh?
Better say perennials.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That was just my initial thoughts, but it can be done either way. But that area where you initially walked up in was something that I wanted Kevin to take care of on his own. It's certainly within his time that he can do.
So I'm wondering if, you know, given kind of the questions and, I mean, with $13,500. I understand it's a lot of work, okay, it's gonna be expensive. But I'm wondering if we could hold off on this and get the whole plan back before us. You know, with some of these questions answered about the herbicide, about the wood chips. And also kind of what we're gonna be planting in terms of putting some annual, you know, perennials in and some natives. Roughly, what was the quote from the company that? we
I can get
selected?
back to you with it, yes.
Okay, because I mean, the thing about doing things that are more green and sustainable, we understand that sometimes it takes more labor and it's gonna cost more money, but it might be more cost effective in the long term.
Yeah, I can definitely give that to you. I believe it was in the $20,000 range. So it was,
And that included the plantings.
yes, it did include some of the plantings, I believe, but I can definitely recheck that up, recheck into that and then give it to Joyce to disperse to who wants it.
Do we postpone it or just take no action tonight?
Well, you can postpone it
I
or
thi-
take no action.
Well, I also know we need to get moving.
Yeah.
Is 2 weeks enough? Could you have that information back?
So I
before the
think,
11th?
some of those questions, really just, you know, do we need additional flowers? I don't know until we actually do the work. And then certainly we can revisit after the work is done. That's just my opinion of what we want in there. As far as the mulch, I think that's a question that honestly, if there is some question in it, the board should make that determination possibly tonight, because that would help me out. As far as do we want more of a wood chip right from a tree that's not dyed? Or do we want something in between, or do we want the dyed? And then certainly, if the board can make a decision on whether they would like herbicide use, or if they would like it tilled up and then the mat placed down. I think all those questions really kind of could be answered tonight if you guys came up to an agreement. I don't think, anything is gonna substantially change in 2 weeks outside of those questions being answered by the board.
So,
Well,
Since you have a comment.
oh.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to state that what Brandon and Kevin is trying to do is really kind of lay out kind of a baseline to get the basic things done. And as far as like the mulch, whether you do the dyed or the type that's more natural, pricing is almost the same. So we can decide, you know, which type you might want to have, but I guess the one thing I was wondering is, you know, if we delay it because we're into the season, it may not be something that we'll get done maybe until the fall, and then you may miss that opportunity for new plantings too.
So is it possible to do the work without the herbicide? This is, I mean.
Yes, you can.
He said he could?
Yeah, he said
You can till it.
he could kill it.
I think it was just the way that they're used to doing it.
But there, you know, there are other
For
types
this,
of
for
chemicals.
this money, for this quote, they'll till it.
No, so what I could do is see about us tilling it, or I can get a price for them to till it
Okay.
instead of doing the herbicide. And then what I would say is, I did bring a, more of a non-refined, mulch. It's just regular wood chippings, nothing done to it, as a proposal to Joyce. It didn't look as nice, of course. It's definitely more natural, and that could be provided for free through Heritage Woods, because they're taking down all that. We would just have to get permission to use the Drain Commission's dump trailer. And then we could store all the chips here and then have the company put them in. I'm sure that they would be okay with doing that, and it would reduce the price as far as having to buy that portion. It just wasn't
It was rough.
It was very.
It
It was
rough.
very rough. It wouldn't look as nice as regular mulch, that's for sure.
I mean, I think I think there's maybe some in between. Those weren't like regular wood chips. That was like
Yeah, it was like
Godzilla
wood.
chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah, it was like.
there's definitely, yeah, maybe I don't know where we could find anything besides Jillian's idea.
Guardian tree, some of our local tree
Yeah, but
services.
that's what Chip Drop does, but
Yeah.
it's free. There's no charge to it.
Right, that's what
You
this one
donate
did.
$20 and they'll be there like the next day. That seems to give them some incentive, but yeah, but
And it's that same kind of material, very like roughed.
yeah,
chips.
there's sometimes, but you can just pull the bigger things out and
Yeah.
the other thing, all mulch that you purchase at the like Big Block or whatever, is it, all of it's dyed?
No, it's
Not all of it.
No,
No, okay.
Are cypress and cedar dyed?
yeah. And they clearly mark the type that,
Yes.
but they sell both.
But some of them are treated.
Okay,
I mean,
let's do this. Shouldn't argue about cedar chips, but when it sounds,
Arguing,
yeah,
having a
to the
discussion.
board, seems like we have better things to do. Why don't we do this? Let's delegate, I think you know what are the actions. We want to keep this thing as natural as possible. I agree 100%. No herbicides, all that makes sense. Whatever you come up with, why don't you run it by Jessica and Jillian, probably our two naturalist people, experts, and just just get their buy-in, and Joyce, the three J's. And, well, you guys.
No.
You guys are all local.
No, I mean,
And just-
yeah,
and
Will
just
knows
do
more
whatever
about this
makes,
stuff than I do.
whatever makes good common sense. With that theme in mind, that it's just gonna be natural. Leslie, I think to your point, let's get this moving now.
Maybe we set a price not to exceed with the approval of
Yeah.
Joyce and whoever she delegates to make sure it's okay.
Give you a sign off or something and
Yeah.
maybe ask a question or two. How about that?
And it could be less than this amount if we are gonna do free wood chips.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have much price difference about tilling unless we do that
Not
in-house.
to exceed them.
But yes, yeah,
Are you suggesting a not to exceed number higher than 13,500?
no,
Okay, so we could go forward with the model motion as written to approve Colarossi landscaping to overhaul township rock/flower beds not to exceed $13,500 from ground maintenance fund. Is someone prepared to make that motion?
But what about the not using the spray existing beds? I mean.
right, yes, that will be,
it needs to be in the motion.
Does it need
I
to
think
be?
it does, yeah.
They don't need to be in the motion?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah, I'm striking the spray existing beds. I mean, is there a friendly, whoever moved the motion?
Rizzo,
I would support with the friendly amendment to excise the spray existing beds. And wait 7 to 10 days for weeds to die before starting the removal.
how about to approve the Colarossi landscaping agreement as amended to overhaul township rock/flower beds not to exceed $13,500 from ground maintenance fund. And that way, all of the amendments that we've discussed are incorporated.
and to confirm, the amendment is striking first bullet point, and on last bullet point, stating that the mulch be natural.
I was gonna say non-dyed mulch or natural mulch.
Everything environmentally friendly.
Untreated.
Just say everything environmentally
Okay.
friendly, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Some people argue that chemicals are environmentally friendly.
So untreated, non-dyed, like mulch.
Cyanide is a natural, chemical, just saying.
Arsenic.
Stop.
All right, anyways,
All right,
great, thank you.
so is that motion okay? The two maker and seconder? Okay.
Does it reflects
that's-
the body?
Riser and Brazeau?
Yes, to approve the Colarossi landscaping agreement as amended to overhaul township rock and flower beds not to exceed 13,500 from ground maintenance fund. All in favor, say, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, this is money, so we have to do a vote.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Motion adopted 6-0. Thank you. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Okay, that brings us to K6. This is possible action Knight Road Culvert Project. I prepared this item. And basically, I think many of you already have background on this. I don't want to belabor the point, but we applied for 3 grants through a program that was offered by the County Water Resources Commission. We received all 3 grants. This was done in close partnership with the Road Commission. The Road Commission is actually doing the work on the culverts. The money, the grant, it pays for half of the cost of the project. The other half is split between the Road Commission and the township. So we're only, in the end, paying for a quarter of the cost of each of these projects. But we have to pay upfront for 75% and then get reimbursed. That's how the grant works.
Yeah, it's still something, I mean, they're not gonna go renege on us, are they?
No.
Okay.
No.
Like, go on somewhere and disappear.
No, in fact,
Are they?
I saw a message
Okay.
from the current not being commissioner, water resources commissioner, Adam Pratt, saying that he was hoping that townships that had benefited from this grant program this year would sort of communicate that to the county, and the county would look into extending a grant program so that this could continue in the future.
So why would we do that? I mean, they're paying 75%.
Well, the money that they are putting into this is a one-time federal funding. It's ARPA money. So if the county were to continue this grant program, the source would have to come from somewhere else. It could be federal money, it could be county money, but somehow that funding would have to come through in order for them to be able to do the grants.
Understood.
Will,
Yes.
comment? Thank you for your work on these. For this one and the subsequent 2, I'd like to amend the model motion to assign responsibility for the quarterly progress reports to, I would suggest, the project manager and finance manager. And the reason for that is because this is it's a great deal for us, but it's ARPA money, federal funding coming through the Water Resources Commissioner. We front our portion, and then it's a reimbursable grant. And then they have the quarterly progress reports, which should be pretty easy, but they're required federal funding reports. So as a subrecipient, we're gonna have to make sure that we're on top of these. And it's something that we're trying to standardize, is make sure that we have folks responsible. Joyce, I was thinking, if the project manager is kind of the, to do the programmatic part, and Rebecca, our finance manager, is the finance part. If that made sense to you?
Yeah, they can coordinate.
Yeah, so we have one person uploading, because we have to do quarterly to get the reimbursements.
Yeah, makes
So it's
sense.
gonna be a lot of administrative work to get those reimbursements, which it's fine to do. We just wanna make sure people know they're gonna be assigned.
Makes sense to me.
So the additional language to the model motion would be quarterly reports to be completed by project manager and finance manager. Did I capture that correctly?
Sure, yeah, the quarterly progress reports.
Progress.
Yeah, thank you.
You'll include that
Director.
So the
Yeah,
motion,
to
the model motion would be to approve the attached agreement with the Washtenaw County Road Commission for the Knight Road Culvert Project to be funded in part with a stormwater grant from Washtenaw County Water Resources Commission, and to authorize $27,000 from Fund 101-446-803 for the project costs. Quarterly progress reports to be completed by project manager and finance. Moved by Brazeau.
Support by Riser.
Support by Riser. Please call the roll.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yeah.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Motion adopted 6-0.
Brings us to item K7, which is pretty much identical with some slight differences. But this is for a culvert project on West Delhi Road. And I assume that we would make the same modification to the model motion to in terms of quarterly reports.
By the project manager and the finance manager?
Yes, quarterly progress reports to be completed. Project manager and finance manager. Is someone prepared to make the model motion?
I would move or support.
Moved by Riser, support by Brazeau.
Sure.
Decisive.
All right, and I should mention that, and this may be information that you all have, but these culvert projects were pulled from the list that's developed, maintained by the road commission of those that they have inspected and deemed to be most in need of attention. All right, so we have the model motion by Riser, support by Brazeau. Please call the roll.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Motion adopted 6-0.
And that brings us to item A8. This one differs slightly in that it is not, according to the roads commission, it will not be ready to be worked on during this construction season, which probably pushes it into next fiscal year. And therefore, it does not include the authorization of funds at this point. That'll be up to whoever's making that vote for next fiscal year.
But that's another 100,000 in general fund we have to plan for.
Right, but it's
Correct.
wise to plan ahead, and so the model motion does include that as the figure is referenced. So there's at least a placeholder there for future budget.
You see, the budget we passed, we included culvert. We did not. I thought we did.
I looked at what was available, and there's enough money available in the referenced line item for these two projects, but if we were to authorize this, it would exceed what is available.
So,
Okay, so next year we'll have to, okay.
yeah, and so Will, if we could maybe change this, well, when I look at that model motion, I'd be more comfortable if it said, with work tentatively planned to occur in 2025, pending 111,750 is budgeted in FYE 2026, because we really can't make that future commitment.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to word that, but yeah,
I
that's
think that works.
Is it provided or?
Good.
Comma, strike and pending 111,750 is budgeted.
for this purpose.
And sure, we will still need the quarterly reports because.
Yeah,
Quarterly reports to be,
yeah.
She said provided.
No, she said pending. Either one works.
Yeah, we could do, you want to have provided, Kathy?
It doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Okay.
okay. Is someone prepared to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Riser, support by Brazeau. Please call the roll.
Flintoff, yes. Brazeau?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Motion adopted 6-0.
Okay, that brings us to G6, the item that was moved from the consent agenda. And we have with us Aurora.
So basically, it's stated, it's a request for approval for proposals of the wage and classifications. To hopefully assist us in salary ranges and for grade steps, which we currently don't have. Steps. Things the same. We include roles that we not previously included in the wage study. We've had several new roles since the last.
Yeah, please, I know you and Aurora worked on this closely.
Yes, so, we've had several requests, over the past year from various employees that, either thought their, salary should be higher than what it currently is. And because we did receive several requests, it's really difficult to make changes without creating inequities in other areas. And so what was suggested is to look at conducting a wage and compensation study. And the process there, as proposed here, could include the non-union as well as the union employees, to the extent that we might be able to put together the comparable information that would be part of negotiations as you look at contracts moving forward. So anything that comes out of the study would actually be required as part of negotiations. And then as part of negotiations, generally, the union will have their own comparable. So to some extent, the township will need to do this at some point in time. It's my understanding there's been some question in the past as far as how it had been handled. The proposal here is to request proposals. And with requesting the proposals, we would, as part of our scope, look at reviewing and update our job descriptions. The consultant would come in and review the current job descriptions, make whatever changes are necessary, return that information back to the township for approval. So that would be part of the process. Once the job descriptions are updated, what is considered is to basically establish step increases, which we do not have in place right now. And so that's another part of the process that would be under consideration.
Joyce, I'm sorry, did you say staff increases or
Step
step?
increases.
That's like a schedule.
Yeah. And the other major component is looking at internal equity as well as external equity. So as part of that process, with the township's involvement, we would determine which communities should be compared to Scio Township to give us an idea from an external perspective, what the salary and benefits should look like. And so there's several steps in the process. Normally, it might take anywhere between 3 to 6 months to get everything completed.
So this would be, go out, for bids, and bids would happen in July, or we would be
Just for
finished?
discussion only right now.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that with this process, because we do not expect to expend up to $20,000, the request for proposals is something that I can do internally. However, because we've received so many questions about when we're going to get this underway and how the process could work, I was thinking we should add it to the agenda to get any comments or questions answered.
Are there questions or comments? Should we go around? Trustee Carey, did you want to start? Let's go around.
Yeah, I was part of the audience back when they had the other salary study, and then that was right before COVID.
The residents, you mean, not the audience.
No, right, but I was part of the audience.
We're not an audience, they're the residents.
I know, it's a joke, right, Mark, I get it. It's my joke, you're taking it over. Okay, so, yeah, and then it was quite expensive, and again, a COVID happened and whatnot, so this is really needed, especially with the new staff that's coming on, but I also wanna make sure that, and I remember that process that just kept going on and on, this is even before COVID, so I don't want it to get lost, I don't want another item that is, we agree, and then we never hear, or, maybe down the road. So if we could have reports, and I know that we need to agree on this, but reports of what is going on throughout the process, maybe even it's monthly or every maybe 2 months or whatever.
Like updates.
Yeah, updates, because I know that staff is anxious for this.
Yes.
And I really like that we're including the union, because, I think next year's the negotiations, yeah.
So how,
It'll start at the end of this year. probably.
Oh, it's okay. I don't know. I haven't been through that process yet, but yeah, that would be great. And thank you, Aurora, for being on this.
Linda.
Yeah, thank you, Joyce, for kind of sharing that. I mean, what I was interested in talking about is kind of what the scope is that we'd be asking a consultant to do. Because that wasn't included here, which is fine, but you're talking about 3 steps here. Job descriptions, classification and compensation schedule. And looking at internal and external equity. When we last looked at this, I think it was in fall of 2019, and had trouble finding, I think Chris Green was kind of leading that. David, you were on the board, but Chris and Jack and Erwin and Sandy and me, looking for a firm who could do it. It's tough to find one. I'd have to go back to look at how much we spent, Joyce, but it was
28,000.
it was $28,000.
Yeah.
And so I'm, and I'll say what else we noticed is when it came back, we wanted the classification compensation schedule. That was what I think is most important, is to have some schedule with steps, some classes. We've started building that by having authorized positions. But then if we can make those positions into classes with steps,
Right.
that's my number one
That's part of
goal.
what I was referring to.
Yes, and I think would be the biggest priority, even if we aren't able to fully do all the other parts. The other kind of error we made in retrospect was we got comparable. First of all, it's hard to find townships comparable to Scio because we're such an outlier in our wealth and our size. But we had comparable jurisdictions, but not comparable departments.
Right.
So, and not comparable, for example, like utilities. You try to find a township that has a utilities department and a fire department. It's not easy to find that, but you might find a city in Washtenaw County that has a utilities department that needs to be compared to that. So I'm thinking about comparing the different industries that we operate.
And, you know, I think the key to some of the questions that you're raising is companies that really have some specialization in local government. Whereas, you know, there's a number of firms out there, but that may not be their specialty.
Okay.
And so I think that's where you'll see the difference.
So
And
Joyce,
then the other part
go ahead.
too, you know, as we talk about union versus non-union and the communities that are part of the comparables, again, if you have a firm that have that type of local government experience, they should be able to help you make that distinction.
and then process-wise, after we discuss it tonight, when you and Aurora come up with kind of the scope, do, you know, at least 3 informal bids. When you bring it back to us with a recommendation of who to contract with, can we discuss a little more about the kind of scope you settled on?
Oh, absolutely. And
Okay,
And actually, before we submit the request, you know, I can certainly circulate the document so that you'll
a
know.
scope of work.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
great.
way you can see it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Any questions over here?
One quick comment, we've done the same thing in our organization. What I can tell you that it does absolutely is for the employees, it sets expectations. And that's the number one thing, because everybody's got something wild in their head sometimes, good or bad, sometimes wild high, sometimes
Yeah.
wild low, sometimes wild. My God, what are you thinking? So that's, I'd say the most positive thing, it just really is definitive in its expectations. It's not like something you made up. You kind of had this third party that did it. Hey, they did all these comps against everything else. Scio Township, we're not making this. So that's why I always.
Yeah, a lot of my concerns have been brought up already in this discussion, so I'm not gonna repeat things. When I initially read this, I thought, we need more information in many areas here. This is kind of skimpy. But I think through discussion, that's been brought up. So I'm comfortable with it now.
Yep. Discussion's been good. No, I support the RFP and keep us in the loop, and I'm sure you will. You didn't have to, but you did, you know, tonight, so I'm sure you'll.
Is some other vote?
No,
No,
this
we-
is just discussion,
Discussion.
only.
Then the assumption, I believe, is that it's below the $20,000 threshold. It doesn't need to come back.
Oh,
Except insofar as we're going to have an agreement come back to be approved.
Yeah, so Joyce will come up with the scope with Aurora, do informal quotes and bring back one.
Awesome.
And while Aurora's here too, I'm just want to say, not to get, I don't need an answer right now, but I just want to say to Joyce and Aurora what a priority it is for me in terms of the performance. We've talked about implementing performance. I know it's going to take several months, but I just think in so many areas, getting to that kind of performance management. And so what are your thoughts on kind of next steps, even if we don't know when? What are the next steps in order to push that forward?
The document itself as to what is being considered, and then comments from the board on the document. So we did have a document that was brought forward at a management meeting for comments. And so we're reviewing the comments, and we're still reviewing the actual document.
What is, I'm sorry, the document? What
An actual performance review doc.
the program?
The document to use to assess and evaluate the employee. And then comments for the employee also to put on the form itself from the review process.
One of the things we do with performance reviews is we ask I don't know if you guys are thinking of doing this, and I'll shut up after this, is we would have them fill out their own performance review, and we'd fill it out and compare our answers. And to see, because a lot of times it's really different. On how they think they're doing on a particular task and how we think they're doing. So,
Yes, there is.
and sometimes it goes both ways. We think they're doing a great job. They think they're doing a terrible job. I've seen that swing in both directions, ironically enough.
Yeah, and I think in addition to the form, it's, as you know, like it's about training supervisors, it's about training staff, about kind of bringing the culture along
Yeah.
in terms of getting everybody on board.
Especially with a new program.
Yes.
Over communicate.
Well, and so, yeah, just, I would like to see something, whatever that next step is, whether it's internal or at the board, but keep that moving as a top priority.
All right, so I believe that we've reached closure on that item. Thank you very much for staying.
Aurora, thank you for staying. Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, that brings us to public comment. This is a time for members of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes on any matter under the purview of the Board of Trustees. And Trustee Brazeau is ready to keep time. Is there anyone present who would like to speak during the second public comment?
Hello, Kathleen Brandt. I just want to share with the board that I've had a long career in purchasing. I have a degree from Michigan State in materials management purchasing. I say this because there was a comment about a contract as a contract. That may be true in the business world. That is not true in government purchasing. I will cite examples, which I believe the township is out of compliance with. The state of Michigan and federal governments, when there are those funds involved, they require competitive bids. I believe the township is not in compliance with those. So if I'm elected, I will be looking very closely at how we manage our contracts. I don't think we're in compliance it would just take some alerts to some agencies to highlight that, but it's not the same in business, Mr. Brazeau. It's different. It's government purchasing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Is there anyone else present who would like to speak during public comment?
Bill David Reed. My apologies to Trustee Brazeau, but I'm going to talk about mulch for a minute. Freshly chipped mulch shouldn't be used on garden beds. I
Not a
worked,
florist.
volunteered at Mathi many years ago. And Adrian O'Brien was the head of the greenhouse there, and Bob Greasy was director there. And when I told them I was gonna start using fresh mulch, they both said, no, you can't use it. It has to sit at least a year. It has something to do with the nitrogen. It either sucks nitrogen out of the soil or overloads the soil. I'm not sure which. So if you're gonna get freshly chipped mulch, let it sit a year. Also, be cognizant of where it comes from, because with oak, we have oak wilt in the area. It's up in one of Legacy's preserves. We've had to cut down a number of trees. And those trees get mulched. It brings the fungus with it. So you want to know where it comes from, and it can't be, it shouldn't come from diseased trees. But
Good information, good information.
Pat, would you like to make a comment?
Nothing you want to.
Okay, let's turn to those who are
I
participating
know I want to
remotely.
hear it. If anybody wants to comment on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. First up is Rita Clinthorn, followed by Rob Pattinson. Rita.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Rita.
Hi. Hey, I just wanna, say that comment, was right, that if you put, too freshly cut mulch down and it touches your plants, it will just burn them up. So, you have to take care about that. And I'm really very happy that you're looking into doing this without using chemicals and without, really doing it sustainably with, native plants. I think it's the best thing for the environment, of course. So I'm really happy to hear about that. And, if there's anything I can do to kind of pitch in with that, but I think that, if you're working with the right landscaping group, you're going to get what you need. So cheers. That's very good. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Rita. We may need your help.
As a florist, you would know that. Stop.
My professional opinion of the florist. Rob Pattinson, you're up.
Thank you, Rob Pattinson, Scio Township. In my opening comments, I talked about the fire department equipment, and previous boards for decades have neglected the fire department in terms of not having any future financing, future savings for equipment plans. In the capital investment plan that we just passed last month, was there anything in that? I don't remember if there was anything in that for the fire department.
Yes, Rob, there was, if my memory serves, there was the amount in there budgeted for the new building, and I think the apparatus for the new station as well.
Fire truck, the ladder, was it the ladder truck or the?
Yeah,
Water pump.
the ladder truck and
both.
Yeah.
But what I'm not remembering, and I'll have to get back to you on, Rob, is if the trucks for the new station were included in there or not. I think it might have just been the new
It
station,
was just one, I think.
just one.
Yeah, and then
But
there were a couple of smaller pieces of equipment for the fire department.
Yes, the smaller pieces of equipment that we already budgeted. But I don't know if it was fully loaded. Rob.
Please proceed.
What I think we're running into is, I was certainly astounded, surprised, and a little bit frightened by the news that the two main trucks, the main truck, the backup truck, were both down, and we were dependent on a 23-year-old water tanker as our main vehicle. I think our equipment needs are going to be sooner rather than later. The main truck, I think, is 10 years old. The backup truck is 15, I think, and then of course the water tanker is 23. We're on the verge of being in trouble with our major equipment, so I think that needs to be addressed. Manager Parker, the internal investigation into Sheriff Gate is independent of anything with the prosecutor's office. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know you've avoided it to now, but I believe it's time to step up and let's get some answers. Let's get a report to the board. Let's get a report to the residents of what exactly happened. And that's going to take interviews. And I believe that needs to happen sooner rather than later. We're already at 7 months. That's way too long. And then please return the Carlisle Wortman reports to the agenda packet. The last time we had a planner's report was January 29th. So that was, we asked for that on a monthly basis last year, and that went on for a couple of months, but they have disappeared again. So let's please return to those Carlisle Wortman reports. The last one was 4 pages long, very informative, very helpful. Let's please return to those. And then performance reviews, those have to be associated with raises. I've never heard of or worked in any situation where a performance review was not associated with a raise. I think that is absolutely critical. The fact that our staff in Scio Township have never had a performance raise is absolutely unforgivable and should add a lot of urgency to getting this wage and classification program done, get a report back to the board, and then get it implemented as quickly as possible. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Any other further comments? Please raise your Zoom hand. Still have 11 people hanging in. We're down to public comment.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion. Moved by Brazeau, support by Noel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we are adjourned at 9:27.
Wow.
I'm gonna see the chief tomorrow.
You see the chief tomorrow?
Thank you, everybody.